Okay, we are live now. We'll starting. Good evening, friends from India, and good morning, friends from USA. On behalf of SME Chamber of India, India US SME Business Council, and Federation of Indian SME Associations, it's my immense pleasure to welcome at this very important webinar. It's focusing on the exploring business and investment opportunities for Indian and US SMEs, especially and manufacturing industries. This is my, maybe around 2000 webinar in these 2 years, and focusing more on the, how we can support each other, how we can explore the business cooperation with each other. So it's my immense pleasure to welcome Miss Aileen Nandi, who is heading the commercial of US Consulate, US Embassy in India, and Suja Menon as the Minister for the Commercial from on behalf of our Indian Embassy from Washington. Miss Aileen and Miss Suja ji, welcome at this important webinar. And it's my pleasure that to welcome Joseph LeBas, who is heading our council in USA, and also he is a businessman, and he is also supporting Indian companies to explore business and investment opportunity in USA. We have Mr. Rajendra Jagdale, Dr. Rajendra Jagdale, who is heading the Science and Technology Park in Pune in Maharashtra, which is one of the unique and largest science and industry park, which is supporting to the startups, to SMEs and startups, to manufacturing industry, to transform, expand their business activity and improve their technological development. Friends, this is very important webinar, because now almost we are ending the coronavirus, which is impacted to last 2 years, especially in India rather. And this is a very unique thing, because after this pandemic or during this pandemic, most of the US companies stopped buying from China. And this is a good opportunity for Indians, especially for the SME sector, because SMEs are always looking for support, guidance, handholding to go global, to expand their business, not only India, but outside of India. And so many times SME sector are looking for new emerging and unique opportunity for a business, bilateral trade, advanced technology, technological alliance, and mostly the manufacturing setup wherever they get opportunity. We are aware that India's SME sector is one of the largest employment generation sector, which is putting a lot of efforts for the contribution for the industrial output. And I'm happy to inform all of you that we have achieved 400 billion US dollars exports in this year, and particularly the role of SME sector played very importantly. And they are now the main force of this output of the industrial as well as exports. Let me tell all of you that the Honorable Prime Minister had given the target for the reaching $3 trillion exports by 2030, and making India as a manufacturing hub, which is played by a very important role by SME sector. And I'm sure that on behalf of SME Chamber of India, I am confident that SME sector in India will play important role and accomplish the target growth and accomplish the project, a dream project of our Honorable Prime Minister, to achieve the India's growth at highest level. Today, we are going to discuss on few points where, mainly emerging opportunity for SMEs and manufacturing industries in India and US. So I will not take much time, but I want to give you a glance of our India-US SME Business Council, which is a platform provided for particular to Indian and US companies to connect with each other, explore business cooperation, identify the unique business opportunity, particularly the manufacturing industry, joint venture, technology transfer, contract manufacturing, and of course, marketing and promotional activities, either in India or either in the USA. So we have two dynamic ladies with us today, which is both are heading the commerce department, and I'm very happy that wherever the female are heading the department, so I'm sure the fantastic support straightforward support and positive support will be given to all our members, all Indian companies and US companies. And I'm sure that during the visit of Ambassador Catherine Tai, there was a trade forum, and that trade forum has transformed the India's and US more in diplomatic and economic relationship. So there also I would like to hear from the Madam Aileen about what is the unique initiatives taken by the Biden government, and particularly during this war, during this many issues happening currently, India and US are having very positive cooperation, very good partnership, strategic partnership. How we can play important role, especially from the SME sector. We would like to hear from you. So on behalf of both the organizations, I welcome you and request you to give your opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a real pleasure to be with all of you this evening. Yeah, so the U.S.-India commercial relationship is very broad and deep. Our bilateral trade last year in 2021 was over $150 billion, which is a tremendous leap over 2020. That was an anomalous year for all of us, but significantly, it was 9.2% above 2019, which was $145.5 billion, which at that time was the highest growth that we had ever had. So I'm very pleased to see that our bilateral trade is trending upwards. The January trade data for goods alone also showed an growth over the 2021 data. So I'm hopeful that we'll see positive growth trends this year. This is really due to all the great work that your companies and our companies are doing. It's what you do is so vital to our relationship. So we at the U.S. Department of Commerce really do focus on our U.S. SMEs. And I think, I've been in India a long time. Altogether, this is I'm finishing up on my 10 years. So I know that the concept of a small or medium enterprise, or even a micro, you use the term MSME, is very different. So there are different definitions, but generally we look at employees of 500, like a company that has 500 or less employees, but it differs by the sector. So it's a little, it can get complicated. But I would say in general, our our SMEs tend to be larger because we have a different definition than you do. We work, the companies that we work with, of our clients, so to speak, 74% are US SMEs. So we are helping the small companies sell to India, the companies that do not have offices here, they don't have a government affairs person, they don't have a salesperson. We are helping them connect with Indian partners. They really, in most cases, cannot do the work without us. So that's one reason why I find my work so gratifying, because we're seeing these small companies succeed, thrive. Sometimes they get a deal that keeps their company in business, or they're able to hire one more person. That is truly exciting. We also work with Indian companies that are looking to invest in the United States. And we all, we have, of course, the big companies you've all have heard of, Tata and Mahindra and all of those. But we're also working with, some medium-sized companies. And of the Indian companies we're working with, 66% fall into our category of SMEs. Companies that are looking to consider at some point investing in the United States. So that is also exciting, because really, if you look at it, the economic engine of both of our economies is fueled by the small and medium companies. So 99.9% of all firms in the United States are considered SME. But if you look at it, another fun fact is only 2% of our companies export or are involved in international business. And so that's part of what we try to do is expand the outreach and get more companies engaged. We're at the tail end of International Women's Month, so I do want to say of our SMEs, 45% have at least 50% female ownership. So some are owned entirely by women, but some are owned by one woman, one man. So that's also exciting. And also SMEs tend to be very agile. And if you look at the patents that US companies are producing, 96% come from small and medium companies. So they are really the innovators and the ones driving a lot of the technology and things that we're seeing. So I have throughout my career, I've worked mostly with small and medium companies. I have to say, I love the passion that they have. They're so excited about their product or technology or whatever they're doing. And it really kind of fuels my energy level when I talk to them. So what do they need when they're looking at international business? They are looking for very concrete information. They, like I said, they don't have a government affairs person, so they're not interested necessarily in the geopolitical context of the US-India relationship, right? They are looking at which, India is a big country, which area should I focus on? Which city should I go to first? How do I find a partner? Kind of like the how-tos of doing business here, which of course differs based on where you are. In the North, it's very different than the South in terms of doing business. So they're looking for very technical information on logistics. How do I ship my stuff there? How do you work with customs? What do I do if it doesn't get moved through customs? So these are the types of calls that we hear. Credit is a big issue. And so a lot of SMEs, of course, are financed by, they're self-financed by families, or, they expand and as they are able to afford that. Some get loans and things like that, but access to credit is a real challenge. And I say all this because they don't have the bandwidth to take on a lot more than they're already taking on. So one thing I've seen over the years is that a company will come here, or right now we're doing everything virtually. We set them up with a series of meetings. They meet with potential partners. They say, okay, everything is great. They go back home and they are swamped. They don't have time to focus on what who they just met in India. They're focusing on the immediate problem. So of course, we call them and say, hey, did you sign that contract? Did you make a sale? Did you identify a partner? And they're like, oh gosh, I just haven't had time to follow up. And so that we hear that an awful lot because they, and I'm sure all the companies on the call can relate to this. They are oftentimes people are doing multiple jobs at once just because that's the nature of the SME, and follow up can be very, very challenging. Right now, small and medium companies are relying on virtual work. In some ways, this provides them with more opportunities because they can sit in the comfort of their home and talk to a company in India and then talk to a company in Germany. You can do a lot more work virtually. But what we are seeing is that companies are having lots of meetings, but they're not necessarily consummating any business deals or furthering the transaction based on based on a series of virtual meetings. The companies that are successful doing business virtually often have had an established relationship, or they have some sort of presence here in India where their team here can follow up. So we are, now that international flights have opened, we are definitely encouraging our US SME companies to consider travel here. India is very expensive. Companies tell me all the time it's much more expensive to come here than it is to China. If you look at hotel rooms and just the time it takes to get here. So it's a big proposition. If you're looking at $6,000 to $8,000 for one person to travel, that's a big expense for a company. And so a lot of times they will only come when they're very, very certain that they will have some level of success. Speaking of success, the biggest success we've had in my 10 years in India is 2019. We brought 150 SMEs to India in our Trade Winds event. And Secretary Ross led that delegation. And, we had meetings not just in New Delhi, but in 6 other cities across India. They also went to Bangladesh and Nepal. We're supposed to go to Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka had just had the bombing. And it was so exciting to see the level of energy. We've had a lot of success from that event. I don't know that we'll have another event of that magnitude, but it was very, very powerful to have the secretary bring that many companies and see them engage here in India. So I look forward to your questions. I do have to jump off just before 7:30 because I have another commitment then, but look forward to working with you and hearing from the rest of the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Nandi. It's very interesting and very important message you are given for India. As you said, the India really is a costly country, you said, but we can say that India is costly, so that means we are growing more and more. And of course, as you said, that there are many SMEs from the USA, they are looking to explore business activities in India. I can give you one assurance on behalf of SME Chamber of India and our India US SM Business Council that I can provide support and the hand-holding to the US companies, those are looking to invest in manufacturing industry or any other sector. I can provide them industrial land, industrial premises, ready-made industrial premises, a joint partner which is having the capacity for the manufacturing unit which US companies should not spend money for a setting up a business or particularly construction of the industry. We have everything ready-made with us. Rather, we have SME industrial parks of India where we are supporting any foreign company looking to Indian market, particularly various states, except northeast states. We can provide a Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, even Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab. All these states we have a branches and we can support. This is one. Second, very important, I would like to understand from you during the Ambassador Catherine Tai, what is a 2-3 unique decision taken by the US government which is beneficial to enhance our bridge between India and US for economical development, particularly to inbound and outbound investment? Can we have a more highlight on that, please?
So yeah, so I think so I'm primarily engaged with the U.S.-India Commercial Dialogue, which is the led by the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and we're in the process of shaping up work streams or themes for the next version of the Commercial Dialogue. In the past, we've looked at ease of doing business factors to help U.S. and Indian companies. And then we also looked a lot at standards because that's an issue that it doesn't sound terribly exciting on the face of it, but it's really, I hear a lot from U.S. companies about standards issue. So we'll be looking at similar themes for the next version of the Commercial Dialogue, but we really we get a lot of input from U.S. and Indian companies to tell us what they need to invest, to trade, to sell, to create partnerships. Because we very much recognize by working together, two of the most vibrant democracies in the world can help our companies become more competitive, sell to other countries across the world, and help increase their prosperity. So stay tuned for the Commercial Dialogue, and we are also recruiting for the U.S. Version of the CEO Forum. The deadline is April 6th. We do have medium-sized companies on the forum, so the voices of the SMEs is very much included in that. And the recommendations from the CEO Forum very much feed into the Commercial Dialogue. So we hope to do the next one perhaps in the fall. We don't have any dates, but logically it would probably be in the fall or later in 2022.
We have received one question, very unique question from one of the government department that they are asking, what is the barriers are faced by the US companies when they knock the door up for an investment purpose?
What are the barriers?
What is the barriers? Yes.
Right. Yeah. So a U.S. company, SME, they need a lot of hand-holding. Invest India, I have to say, does a fantastic job. Any company that I've put in contact with Invest India has come back and said, wow, Invest India has solved their problems. So I think you are all very fortunate to have such a dynamic organization to help them. But I have to say, a lot of times US SMEs, they're subject matter experts in that they know their technology, they know their product, they know their industry. They're not as aware of how to do business outside the United States. And so that's where they need a partner such as us or Invest India. There's a lot of consulting companies that do this type of work as well, to understand how to do business. But I know the Indian states are, increasingly competing for foreign investment, including from the United States. And, each state has, different packages or different, ways of convincing companies to come and invest in their states. So that is great to see. And it's, in my time here, it's been great to see the different states kind of move up and down the various rankings. So, yes, I think that what they need is basically an entire how to document. But I tell them that the biggest decision they have is finding the right partner. Very few SMEs can come and just do business on their own. They need some sort of partnership. So maybe they do a licensing of their technology, or maybe they set up a joint venture. Maybe there's various ways of doing that. But even a big company really very rarely can succeed 100% on their own without some sort of partnership. It's really, success is really all about partnerships.
Okay, good. And final question is, you received from our more than at least 45 companies that what are the, the US companies, what kind of US companies are exploring currently the business activity in India, particularly during this pandemic, last 2 years, you must be received some interest from the US companies that they are looking for a setting of business here, or they are looking to, expand their business activity in India, or manufacturing unit or technology transfer. Like, the 4 or 5 sectors you can elaborate so that we can, create interest amongst our membership that we can support. I know Invest India is one of the leading organization in India, which is supporting Indian and foreign companies to explore business cooperation. So we'd like to know what are the segments, and also the government is pushing the segment, which is, to explore business and investment opportunity in India from US point of view.
Sure. So I would say we have seen a dramatic decrease in the number of SMEs coming to us. So we're through the pandemic, and I think there's a variety of factors that might explain that. But obviously, the SMEs in the United States are facing, they have faced tremendous pressure, just like the companies on this call have. So some of them are fighting for survival, and they can't think about doing business in India right now because they're with supply chain issues and what all companies are facing, just working through that. But traditionally, we've seen a lot of companies in the healthcare sector. Energy is another big one, renewable, battery storage, a lot of innovative products. Aviation and defense, of course, we have the big companies, but there's a lot of suppliers and upstream, downstream type companies that are interested. And then environmental technologies, which is also very, very broad. A number of them are interested. But what I love about my job is every day there's new and different types of companies, consumer products, all sorts of industrial things, and I'm always learning about what they're doing, how they do business, what their product is. So given the breadth of our trade and economic and commercial relationship, it's on any given day you're working on many kind of random things based on what companies want to do. But we are doing a lot of outreach, trying to get more companies interested, and we're kind of learning how to go back to this new virtual kind of hybrid world where some people are doing work in person, some people are doing work virtually. But we're very much sharing the message with US companies. Please come to India. Flights are open, and the way to do business successfully, you need to meet people face to face. So hopefully the health conditions will allow that to continue.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting and very useful information presented by you. Friends, it was, Miss Aileen Nandi, who has given the very, very, drastic, other, very important information. Now, let me present you Madam Suja Menon, who is heading as a Minister of Indian Embassy in Washington, DC. Madam, with my first question to you that with your, with the question, I will start your introduction. That what is the unique initiatives taken by Indian Embassy to provide a value addition services, handholding, and encouraging Indian companies and SMEs to enter in US market? Thank you.
Morning from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Chandrakant. It's a pleasure to join all of you. Good to see you, Aileen. I think you have stolen most of my TPs, and you too, Chandrakant. But before I, come to what we have done, I think I'll make some broad points, and of course, I'll be happy to take more questions. Eileen, I would start with where you stopped, in the sense you talk about, success is all about partnerships. And I think currently the way world is going, I think nothing is more true. I think it's all about collaboration, cooperation, and partnership. Chandrakant, you also spoke about, the 400 billion trade target which we have achieved, the exports that we have achieved. Prime Minister has specifically congratulated the farmers and small businesses and entrepreneurs for being able to do this. And nearly one fifth of our total exports actually go to the US, and most of them, of course, come from the small and medium business enterprise sector. And when we talk about, the comprehensive global strategic partnership between India and the United States, we always say this: it's not just between the two governments; it's much beyond. It's about the private sector, it's about the investors, it's about the industry, it's about the academia, intelligentsia, civil society, small businesses, all put together. It's a story which is much beyond the two governments. In terms of, some of the important things that have happened in the last 2 years or so, you spoke about the TPF, the Trade Policy Forum. In fact, the meeting itself was important in the sense that it happened after a gap of almost 4 years. And some of the market access issues on both sides, which have been there for probably decades, we have been able to resolve. We are very happy about it. We are happy that Indian mangoes and pomegranates would soon be available in the US from the next season. Similarly, the US pork will be available in India, also cherries and alfalfa. We also look forward to having the table grapes from India soon in the US. We are working on those issues. So it's a very important start. I mean, it's, of course, India-US commercial and economic partnership. It has improved over the years, both sides. But we see that there is a lot of potential to do more. If you look at how our strategic partnership has grown over the years, I think there is a lot of potential to do catching up, if I can be candid, amongst friends. Just to give you, I don't want you to bore with statistics. All of you know it very well. SME sector is the backbone for our economy. It's an engine of growth and innovation. You spoke about, of course, women's participation. We have 20% of our SMEs which are women-owned. It's one of the largest employment generators in the country. In fact, 1/3 of our GDP comes from SMEs. More than half the exports goes from the SMEs. So it's a very, very important part of the entire Indian economic ecosystem, so to speak. Coming to what can we do or what has actually happened, there is a lot which has happened again during the pandemic, and we are happy about it. Companies like Google have tied up with SIDBI, the Small Industries Development Bank of India, in terms of making the credit finance available to the SMEs. Companies like Walmart actually have done a lot of sourcing from India. They've already announced 10 billion by 2027, mostly from, again, the SMEs. We have done a lot of B2Bs. I think probably more than 100 B2Bs at the embassy level, and of course, if you add all our 5 consulates in the US in various sectors, it would be much more. Ambassador has had a good conversation with the Small Business Administrator Isabel Guzman recently in January in terms of what more we could do in this sector. You also spoke about Aileen, the CEO forum. We look forward, of course, to having the commercial dialogue and CEO forum soon. But having said that, at some level, you also mentioned about the 2019 visit where, Secretary brought in a lot of SMEs from the US. If we could set up a similar structure for the small and medium business sector, as in a small business forum, I think that would be an important step in bringing both the SMEs on both sides together. So what do basically the SMEs need? They need, in my limited understanding, 3 things. One is, of course, the credit. The second is, of course, material for their products. And then third, they need markets for their products. So I think in all these three things, we at the mission have tried to probably connect. Our life is all about, being facilitators, being able to connect people on both sides. We try and do that matchmaking to the extent possible, of course, given the constraints of a virtual world. But of course, happy to do more in terms of more B2B meetings. If there are, if someone is looking for importers on the US side, we get a lot of course, trade queries. We try and answer them. And of course, we'll be happy to do more B2Bs, more road shows, for our companies in the US. And if there are, I always say this, we have a lot of appetite for inputs and information. If there are any suggestions on how we can do this better, we welcome those, ideas and take it forward from there. So, Prime Minister has reiterated his focus on the 3 Ts, the trade, technology, and tourism. In all these 3 sectors, we find that SMEs can play a very important role. And in that way, of course, small is actually big, in every sense. I would like to stop here and would be happy to take more questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Menon. It's very interesting, and rather, I'm happy to inform you. Yesterday only, we have formed one SME CEO forum, particularly to building bridge between India and US. It's very interesting, and both of you mentioned about that. So I'll be very happy to receive official support from both of you, because large corporates CEO can talk about the policy, they can talk about the development and other industrial but the SME CEO forum will be useful, particularly for the companies who are looking for handholding, companies looking for identifying the emerging market, companies looking for finding the partners, because SME sector are a vital sector and they are providing large employment. So we will definitely take advantage of US commercial services and Indian embassy, where we can support, we can encourage the Indian companies to go global, to set up business in USA, set up business in India. Madam, I would like to have one question about, particularly during your tenure or our Indian embassy, what are the loopholes, or what are the issues identified when Indian SMEs are doing business in USA? Because I want to give a message through this webinar that US country is the best for a business, best for investment, or best for developing cooperation. So sometimes Indian SMEs are failure, sometimes Indian SMEs face the problem. So what is your message we can convey to the industries, that these are the issues you should tackle, you should avoid, and you should go ahead with the right partners? What is your thoughts on this?
See, Chandrakant, it's like this. I think we have a lot of strengths as far as Indian SME sector is concerned, because we manufacture quality products at relatively less cost, and we offer, I think, incredible technology solutions to, of course, the US and the rest of the world. Where we have a challenge, if I can use that term, is the US is a very regulated market. It's very legalistic in terms of operations. So for example, if you look at our exports in the food and drug sector, both in the pharma and of course the food, we have a lot of rejections from FDA. And why does that happen? It could be a small thing in terms of packaging, in terms of labeling, in terms of those requirements. So in fact, I'm happy to share here that we did, a seminar, a webinar for educating our Indian exporters. We had a legal expert from the US who actually walked through the entire system in terms of how we can take this and then do better. So small things here and there, I think, can go a long way in actually being able to understand, because you have to understand your market, you have to understand your customers. That's very important. So I think that's one aspect probably that we can keep in mind. And two, we're also now doing a lot in the niche sectors. Of course, Aileen also mentioned this. There are a lot of small exporters from India who want to, who have all these interesting things, like in the defense and aerospace, for example, helmets, protective gear, small products, but these are important ones. In terms of us being able to reach out to the right, importers in those niche sectors, I think is again something which we have found, a bit of difficulty. Having said that, I think organizations like, Aileen, you would know this better, SIDO, the State Industrial Development Organization, which brings together all the US states. So it's like a one-stop shop, with one, you can reach all the 50 US states. I think we have tried doing that in terms of, how we could work out those. The industrial organizations in the US, like the US IBC, the US ISPF, they have also been incredible. The part of the U.S. chambers. I mean, they have done a fantastic job in terms of hand holding with the embassy. So and also being able to survive, as Aileen and Chandrakant, you also mentioned in this, during this pandemic. We don't know how. Of course, we keep our fingers crossed in terms of BA2 variant, etc. But now that things have opened up, things are mostly in person or hybrid. There is a lot of potential to do more, and I hope, in terms of supply chain resiliency, in terms of the recent geopolitical and geo-economic developments, we can make use of these and actually try and do a lot more together.
Okay, thank you. We have Mr. Joseph LeBas from USA, from Miami, and we have Ajay from Denver. Mr. Jagdale is from Pune. So let us explore the, now open the open discussion. Joe, your question to both the dynamic ladies.
Did we lose Miss Aileen? I know she was up
Yes.
against it there.
Yes, you can go ahead.
No, it's really my comment. It's actually very gratifying to hear. My first visit to India was 22 years ago, and I'm fortunate and blessed to have built 4 software SMEs with people from India and Indian Americans together. But if I can sum up what the role of the India-US SME Business Council is exactly what Ms. Aileen said there. It's if I am an Indian SME wanting to do business in the US, or a US SME wanting to do business in India, and I don't know where to go, and I think that is basically what we're hearing now. Or I go and I say, this is fantastic. Now, what do I do? What is that next step? I was in Riyadh 3 weeks ago, and I was on the sky bridge of the Kingdom Tower. Everyone knows that very distinctive tower. And I met it, and it was the defense show going on. And I met an owner of a defense aerospace defense company from India. And I had a few words with him, and he goes about the council, and he goes, that's absolutely what I need. So SMEs are the backbone. We all understand that, but it's also a very difficult market to penetrate. So I'll say something on my dear friend Chandrakant's behalf, is he has spent 30 years building this incredible organization in India, which is now 15,000 strong. What we're doing on the US side is doing the same thing with our US SMEs, so we can do this very powerful cross-mapping of, if we're in the packaging industry, these are your like numbers in India. If you're in the healthcare industry, Miss Eileen's back, all right, great, then that can at least give the head start. And if we can create these relationships, these introductions, then the council can help keep them going when you get back within your 4 walls. Because I know more than anybody building companies that that's what happens. You get back in your business and you can't look outside of it as an entrepreneur. So you need a facilitation, you need, a helping hand, you need, if anything, a concierge service to help you on a number of different matters. So, hats off to you ladies that are doing this. I love the story there about the legal issues in the United States. I tell Chandrakant all the time, if I came to India, I wouldn't know how to set up a business in Mumbai. I wouldn't know the first thing. And I'm a pretty educated global businessman coming to India for 22 years, right? So these are the kind of concierge services we believe that we're trying to craft for our India-US Business Council, and is packageable that we can give to the SMEs on both sides of the council. So I don't really need to give an address because you two ladies, through your different stories, have already kind of set the framework for what we can give. But I just wanted to say that. I'll let the other two gentlemen ask some questions here, and we'll continue on with the conversation because I think it's very good.
Madam Aileen, you said about, particularly the technological alliance with the Indian companies. We are here, Mr. Rajendra Jagdale, who is heading the science and technology part. Let me bring him to now to, share his thoughts and what is your, in mind going on when Ms. Aileen was telling about, cooperation, especially for the technology related.
Thank you, Chandrakant, for organizing this very wonderful webinar. And I'm so excited because I have a lot to share about my experiences of working in US. I have been volunteering and visiting US a number of times, and I have office in Silicon Valley, both East Coast and West Coast, especially in RTP, Research Triangle Park, and in Silicon Valley in San Jose. I have lost a lot of money and I have gained a lot of money, both. So, but overall, there's a gain, though not a lot of gain, but there's a gain. I used to manage one hedge fund in San Jose, $180 million hedge fund, which I've closed, and we have just launched one more hedge fund of $400 million. It's basically pre-IPO investment fund in US. Of course, 20% of that we can invest outside US. But my major passion is that how do we bring technologies from US to India and technologies from US from India to US. Unfortunately, it's not happening bilaterally. Getting technologies from US to India is easy, but getting technologies from India to US, I find very difficult. Sometimes the technologies may be far better, they are important, and they are important for you even in US. But there's some kind of resistance in taking technologies from India to US. I have failed personally. My experience is that there's a lot of scope to do matchmaking from. I work in startup space. I have groomed and established, and I have personally invested in 183 companies. And some of the companies have grown to several $1 million. So having that experience, I have set up what is called as India Welcome Centers in Europe. There are 11 India Welcome Centers in Asia. These are networking activities between incubators in those regions. So any startup looking for an opportunity in those countries, they go to India Welcome Center, 6 months to 1 year, depending on the need. The office is provided free. There's no charge. And after that 6 months or 1 year period, they have to pay modest incubation charges. But most of them, they are treated as the local companies. All the fiscal incentives which are offered to European companies or Asian companies, there are 18 India Welcome Centers in Asia Pacific region through our network called ABI, Asian Association of Business Incubators. So something like this has not happened. I've tried a lot between US and India. Why not set up Indo-US startup welcome centers? I am willing to give offices free for if startup from US want to explore opportunities in India, at least at 50 different locations across India within our startup, the incubator network. But same, we expect that to happen with US. My job is made very simple by LeBas. What happens is when I started doing some business in US, I didn't know, I was lost. Same thing happens in Europe, because doing business in India and doing business outside India is very different. So there's some kind of orientation program of 1 week offered by the counterparts, how to do business in US. What are the fiscal incentives possible? What are the local laws? Because it's not like India. The local laws in US for every county, they're different. Here it is very simple. So for me, it was very difficult to understand that. But why can't we set it in US Startup Welcome Center in India, and similarly Startup Welcome Center, India Startup Welcome Center in US? That's possible, and give this a free mentoring for startups who want to explore opportunities there. Then some, of course, we have also done what is called startup incubation. In a sense, some startup, suppose, wants to come from US to India, they don't know how to do it. They would require a local partner. And this together set up a new venture, new startup in India. Similarly, we can do in US. I have several examples to share and success stories also to share. But that's possible to do it. The one other thing that we are looking at, we are also looking for a large-scale partnership program with not only with US, but many other countries to set up large-scale innovation clusters, maybe greenfield or existing clusters. We want partnerships. For example, with say there are 11 science parks within Research Triangle Park network. So some of the science parks may be keen to come to India to set up a joint large-scale, say 2,000 hectare or 4,000 hectare science parks. So such a greenfield science parks are possible, and we'll be more than happy. I would be personally more than happy to facilitate this if US innovation clusters are very keen to come to India to set up a joint. So this will, of course, facilitate growth of a lot of SMEs there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Ajay ji, you are also exploring many startups and SMEs. What's your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this event. And this is just on time after the COVID. So we are gearing towards, much more partnership and looking forward for the opportunity. I'll just give you a gist what Mr. Jagdale was talking, and Aileen and Suja has mentioned that. There is a lot of trouble. Every state has our own way of doing, economic development and trade. So we have a specific mandate, and if you come through the state, also there's a county is giving some incentive and some kind of proposition. Then you come to the city is providing, and then certain ways where your partnership comes through. So a lot of these things are very complicated sometimes, and that's what our InnoP Global is providing support in terms of really visualizing what is the need of the country exists. Okay, so every state you go, you'll have to follow the rule and regulation and try to do the incentives. So that's why our center is trying to help, and that's why we partner with Chandrakant ji to provide those information right on time so that you don't lose time and opportunity. One thing is happening right now, that startup is getting very closer now because of the investment, because of also technology transfer aspect. They are much more knowledgeable, Startup India and Digital India today compared to any other sector, and when we talk about the Startup India and Startup US, we are much more closer every day, every minute. And they are much more connected because our connection is whether it is going through the Clubhouse or whether you are going through a different kind of Instagram and other social media platform. So we are very active connected there. And some of the organization like SME, Chamber of India, and the council here, and our Indo-US Business Council and the chambers, what we are looking for right now, and I think where Aileen and Suja is a great instrumental to help, is to creating a sector-wise some kind of a forum where people can ask the question. I was just looking at the question about the protein, plant protein. Somebody's talking about the question related to how they are going to ship a specific product. If it is possible to start a dialogue forum at each sector, that would be a great way to go. And second is also, which I think Joe was also mentioning, American companies are lost when they go there and they don't know where to go. Landing in Delhi, I was with the governor of, Colorado governor, landing in Delhi and Mumbai and Bangalore. We met all the bigger company. We met Reliance, we met Tata, we met all those companies, Mahindra Tech and all. But these are all known company. They are already existing and they can do by themselves. They are themselves like a country. What happens to the small and medium enterprise that they don't have a hand holding really in any part of the world in the right way. So this forum is coming is a good way, because our economy in the US also, what Aileen was mentioning, 90% is coming from the SME. Without that, we won't survive as a country. And same with India, a little bit more disorganized. We have a much more organized and a policy and everything, but there's a lot of learning is possible. So we are here.
Okay, yes, thank you. Both the dynamic ladies want to leave at 7:30. So I would like to request and I would like to announce today that the SME Chamber of India and India US SME Business Council jointly with Indian SME Federation of Indian SME Association, which is heading more than 3,200 associations. Those are working for SME sector in India. Now let me announce in both the ladies that we have started SME CEO Forum, bridge between India and US, particularly to explore strategic partnership with the interested companies. And also we will focus on the sector wise, as Ajay ji and Suja ji and Aileen ji said, that we will focus sector wise, and we will create a very unique system and where they can get a guidance, either US company or even Indian companies. We will start working. And the first step, I'm going to take a delegation, large delegation, Ms. Aileen, that we will be attending Select USA, and I'll take a help of Sujaji to organize roundtable meetings in various cities in US, so that this can be a outcome for this webinar today. So before closing from this webinar, I would like to request Sujaji to give you closing remarks.
I think, wonderful, actually, ideas from Rajendra Jagdale ji and, of course, Ajay ji. I think it was, I think you actually put a lot of meat on the table in terms of ideas and what more we could do together. Of course, startup is a different world in itself. I think in terms of the digital being the priority, we all it's just not in our profession, in our everyday life. In the last 2 years, we have seen the importance of the technology. So digital innovation, startups, I think as two societies, India and US, who respect ingenuity and innovation, I think there is a lot that we can do together. We have done a lot of work in the startups space as well. I mean, the mission and the consulates. We have brought together startups from both sides, but in terms of actually putting together an ecosystem and a structural platform, so to speak, which you have rightly mentioned, Chandrakant ji, I think it's a very, very timely initiative. From the mission side, I can assure you that do let us know when you're planning this visit. We would be happy to tie up in partnership with all our consulates here in the US. Select USA is an important organization. We know them well. So we would be happy to take forward all these ideas and initiatives. And you have my coordinates. I mean, some of the attendees today, I think, have asked for the email IDs, etc. Please feel free.
We will share that.
We will take it forward from there. So I hope the year ahead would be a year of prosperity, peace, and stability for all of us.
Yes, thank you. Aileen ji, the point is, particularly most of Indians, when they get a US visa, they are very, very, very much happy. They got a entry in US. That means they are lucky. So, what is your thoughts, particularly to inviting Indian companies to go global, to go USA, and to explore business opportunity? What is your message to them?
Yeah, so the United States is the most welcoming country in the world. We're the #1 investment destination because we have open markets with the least amount of regulation, and it's open and transparent, very easy to do business, and companies do well. You see a lot of companies in a wide range, big companies, little companies from all over the world that thrive in the United States. So I'm very happy to hear that you'll be taking a delegation to Select USA. I'm sorry I won't be there because I'll be transitioning this summer, but I'll be sending good vibes, and I know it truly is an incredible event, and I enjoy attending the years that I go. I quickly want to just address the SME forum idea. This is something that we've tried multiple times, and when we had the TradeWinds delegation, we did a special event and invited all 150 companies to attend to gauge the interest of U.S. companies. And there is no traction after that. And I think it just speaks to the SMEs being overextended, and they don't have the bandwidth to take something like that on. So I think if you were to explore a virtual platform where companies could connect then, and maybe something more organically could happen. I very much see the need for US and Indian SMEs to connect without us connecting them. But it's the fact is both our SMEs are, they don't have the bandwidth to sit in these forums or participate in kind of extraneous activities. So that was the lesson learned. But I think technology can help save the day. So maybe one of your tech companies will identify a solution to help make the magic happen. But thank you so much for inviting me. Suja, great to see you. Look forward to seeing you in DC this summer.
Thank you, Aileen. Thank you very much, and I hope that we will receive the same positive response, and we're very highly response from the U.S. Embassy, particularly for exploring business opportunity in U.S. market. We have started already working with Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and South Carolina to exploring the business and investment cooperation for Indian company, because when we have started working for last 6 months, we have received more than at least 150 companies interest that they are looking for setting up business in USA. So we will definitely take advice from both the ladies, and we will take it forward. We will continue our discussion, and both would like to leave because they have some other commitment. So thank you very much on behalf of my members, participants, and chamber, and particularly for providing the positive response to my members and particularly to organization for exploring the further opportunities. Thank you very much, Aileen. Thank you, Sujaji. Look forward to meeting you soon. Thank you. We will continue the discussion. So, friends, it was very wonderful discussion with the two dynamic ladies. Now, I would like to bring in Joseph LeBas to share about when we talk about investment in USA, what are the avenues, what are the opportunities, and how I can think for invest in USA, either be a investor or be a immigrant, or how we can do. Joe.
No, thanks, Chandrakant. I wanted to stress something that we didn't really cover here, and that's capital as well. So when we're talking about perhaps taking our business overseas, the big thing is capital. Okay, and you hit on it right there with investment. Okay, so let's envision that I'm an Indian SME and I want to set up an affiliate, or I want to create a joint venture in the U.S. An investment along those ways, right? Now, at some point, I'm going to have to move to manage that investment. Not all the time, but let's just envision that I'm really going to go into this, and I'm going to set up an affiliate. I'm going to set up a manufacturing plant. I'm going to set up a technology office there, and I'm going to move. Perhaps I'm going to move my family to take advantage of the world-class education that still is in the United States, top drawer university system for my family. So The good news is there is a lot of advantages there. What we are working on as a council, let's just start with the business. The council under Chandrakant's leadership in India, and what we're doing here on stateside, is availing a lot of funding through available to SMEs on Indian banks as you move over. So let's start with that. If I am an Indian SME and I want to establish a US affiliate, there are a number of Indian banks that have already indicated, and I have met with these as well, that they would be interested in forwarding an expansion loan. That helps you because if you go to the States, you are still a new entity and you are not even a legal resident yet. So it'll be much harder for you to get a loan initially. Now let's get to the second piece. How do I become a legal resident? I'm sure everyone on this call has heard about the various visa options, especially the big one, EB-5. There's various other ones we can discuss in a more focused discussion, but the very good news now is the EB-5 program has just been codified, signed into law by the president in most recent weeks, March 11th to be exact. We are basically putting this all as a package of services together as the council. Now, the good news about the council is we can be a very objective, strategic advisory to our members, and basically we don't have a dog in the hunt, to use an American term, right? We don't have to say this is the project we want. We could advise and say this is probably what's best for you as you come to the country. I'll give you the highlights. It's an $800,000 investment for an EB-5 visa. Now that's locked down for the next 5 years. The good news, though, is there is some preferential treatment now to investing in projects that are not city-based, rural-based. Which, if you think about it now, if you do want to set up an affiliate in the United States that is anything really, except having a downtown loft suite for a technology company, more desirable for manufacturing, packaging, auto, basically anything. Even if you wanted to have a loft suite, call it 30 miles outside of a city center. Anything outside of a large high-rise hotel in the middle of a city center is now more or less being considered rural, and those are given set-asides in the new EB-5 bill. So you will go to, for lack of a better word, front of the line in processing. You'll also now, if you now apply those jobs in setting up your new affiliate, you don't have to go through a regional center. So there are some really good new wrinkles in this new bill, which is now codified for 5 years, where the previous bills were kind of just done by year and renewed and renewed and renewed. They give you better predictability in immigration. Okay. Now, what about when we get there? Now, as we've been talking about for the last hour, there's linkages, there's joint ventures, there's channelization of finance. That is all available now as we look at U.S. SMEs. I know Aileen made some very good points, and Indian SMEs are the same way, right? We're all running our businesses. So you need a partner that can basically help make these connections work while you're running your business. Because I believe we're done with COVID, but guess what happened? We entered this fracas. Well, it's a full-scale war. It's not a fracas. And then what's going to be after that? I think that volatility is our next normal. So if we wait for the next thing to be over, there's going to be a next thing. So we have to plan for disruption in our businesses. I believe that's what, unfortunately, this next era of civilization is going to be. So growth, I think Suja's point, only 2% of business being done overseas. It's a tremendous opportunity for the SMEs that want to push and grow. So I believe investment in the U.S. for SMEs can be done through capital, can be done in investment, can be done in the right locations of the US. There are several low tax states. If you look at the migration patterns of the US, they're exiting the north, high tax. You know, we saw in COVID a lot of restriction on small, medium businesses. And actually those businesses voted with their feet. They left and they went to areas that were low tax, low restriction, higher job growth, less unions, and those businesses are flourishing, right? So we can help give you the data to make your own decisions. But I'll tell you, the old traditional thoughts on where to go in the US have changed. And, you know, being nimble, being flexible, as we all know as SMEs, works to our advantage right now. So I would say, again, the United States is still the strongest, most durable market in these very volatile times. India is emerging as the most durable, strongest partner for the United States. It's not lost on a lot of SMEs here. We know that from a price, quality, and political reason, China is not a friend, especially what's happened over the last month. So the linkage is there. And all it takes is for us to look outside our four walls and make it. So
Good.
those are my thoughts. Yep.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Dr. Jagdale ji, when any entrepreneur, particularly SME sector, those are having turnovers say like a 50 to 100 crores, and they would like to go for technological alliance or acquiring advanced technology, or particularly going for technology transfer. What is your experience of what you would like to mention, particularly to the SME perspective? Those are hungry for advanced technology, because we have to compete China. We have to compete, even Japan, Korea, European countries. Yeah, as you said, we want to even export technology to USA. So how Indian SMEs can be prepared or can be advised when they go for this kind of activities? Your thoughts?
See, my experience getting technologies from US is rather easy, but I have found it very difficult to take technologies from India to US. I have a lot of experiences to share in this. First thing is I feel that US feel that we don't require technologies from outside US. That has been the ego. Sorry, LeBas, for saying this. That has been the ego I have been facing, because we have everything. We don't need anything from outside US. And even though I have gone with large number of technologies which are not there in US, but I found it very difficult to penetrate. Of course, when we go with investment, of course, you are most welcome to come with your own technologies, set up your own manufacturing and do the business. But pure transfer of technology, it's very difficult. Getting technologies from US to India is pretty simple. I have done that. I have dozen of experiences where we have got technologies from there. And purely on licensing terms, we have got the technologies here. So that's that. So I operate from San Jose, one accelerator called Trivium, and where we have taken Indian startups there, and they have been very successful. See, when I used to mentor some of these startups from US in Trivium, I thought, why? So I asked Trivium team to come to Pune, and I had a line of startups to expose them. They said, every company from here has a potential of taking technologies to US because they're so great. And some of the founders of Trivium invested in these companies here. But finally, I found it very difficult to take these startups to US. So of course, I have personally invested in a lot of companies in US, maybe up to almost $25, $26 million investment I have done. I was offered a green card. I never opted for a green card because I would never get time to settle in US. But I think with the what is happening now, global political scenario, we are coming closer to US, and this is an opportunity to explore deeper possibility of relationship between technology transfer.
You know, this is very interesting because the US market always, look after by the, the Chinese, Japanese and other companies. But now the Indians are coming ahead. And, we have here Ajay Jha, who has, long time experience and, having the, practical experience and practical knowledge about how we can, tap the potential opportunity. Ajay ji, what is your message to the Indian SMEs, particularly those are looking to invest in US, those are looking to explore business opportunity, and those are looking to a strategic partnership with the US companies?
Thank you, Chandrakantji. I think Joe has talked more about what is the process to get into US marketplace. I'll give a very perspective of I'm here in Colorado, so I always look at this western coast and mid coast away from east coast side. But I'll give you a perspective that America is also very much diverse and it's so much expanded in terms of even we talk same language. I don't talk like a Florida guys or guys in Texas. So so you have to understand that we have also a lot of diversity here. And
we'll be friends, Ajay.
Thank you. And I think that the problem is basically that not every platform provide the right information at the right time in the right place and the right partnership attitude. So this is a kind of everybody has a chamber, this different forum. So the information goes, but how do you validate those information and how much you can make evaluation? Because I work in a startup world, I always say that three things I look for. One is authenticity, one is validation and valuation, and last is tenacity. If all these things exist, then we work together. And if it is not there, then probably the companies are not in the right path. And so when we look out for any, Indian companies come here, it's Alice in Wonderland. It's a good to come as a, consignment, trade delegation. And I have gone many trade delegation around the world. The governor always like in every state to take the trade delegation and promote their state for the investment. So my experience as
what is your thoughts on particular sectors now? Because in India, you know the plenty of sectors. Which sector can think about to enter in US market?
So I think I can tell you right now, health and clean tech is the two areas which is a very much at the top level. And then we have a food, everything what India grows. America like to have a more value-added product here. So if you talk from yogi tea to any kind of ashwagandha, you talk about any kind of nutraceuticals product and food product, which is giving a much more better immunity. This is the way people are going, and so we like to have that one pretty much. Second is education is a one area. There is a lot of things are happening, and it is not only the university, but there is a lot of other smaller unit wanted to work with India to provide. Just talk about this, especially about the US-India transaction. Not a lot of people knows how the country like US is working, even the state by state rules and regulation. So I think for the time being, I'll tell about Colorado right now. Okay, we are the next Silicon Valley of food and nutrition. Also Silicon Valley of aerospace engineering and technology. We are getting into the top level, and we are also from IT. If you talk about all major company of India, it exists in Denver, Colorado. So you talk about Mahindra Tech, you talk about TCS, you talk about Wipro, you talk about the Tata, all the groups are here, and they're growing, and there is also medium company exist because there's a lot of technology service company exists, which is a software. There's a lot of companies which is working in terms of supplying food material, nutrition material, some of the herbal material, which is coming to processing, because we have kind of a food value and nutrition value from Denver to Boulder. I think, Joe, you know that these are three areas: Fort Collins, Boulder, and Denver. This is called the food and nutrition value of West right now, because we have all major commodity from California, which is a food growing, and Florida, of course, where you are, Joe. And this is a major transaction. But since we are looking at, distributed energy is a big crisis, we are talking about the green energy. We are promoting urban food farm, vertical food farm all across the country, which is we require because of the supply chain problem, because of other energy crisis and everything. So I think I'll say the health sector is one. Another sector is the food and nutrition. Third sector is the aerospace, engineering, and IT and service sector. Hospitality sector, the tourism is coming after the COVID because of the COVID, like 2.5 years, people trying to jump in and, So
See, Ajayji, my interest and my members' interest is how we will compete or how we will take over the market created by the China and US. Because India is a becoming manufacturing hub. And next 10 years, you will find all the world manufacturing companies will come here and to manufacture product in India. Okay, we are also setting up small types of SME industry parks. So this is a huge opportunity in India. You are from Bihar, Bihar is also flourishing very well. So my point is how we can support Indian companies to enter in US market by not only investment but starting business, because unless until you will not taste something, you will not give experience. So we will encourage our SMEs to taste the market, go to the market, enjoy the hospitality of the market, and understand what is available for them according to your business, according to your sector. Then only it is possible. Mihir, you be ready. I would like to ask you a question about what are the trade barriers and where the SME can take advantage, or the incentives point. Joe, I would like to come back to you again. Meanwhile, my Mihir is ready. What is your observation last 6 months? Which state is encouraging Indian companies more, particularly zero tax or particularly low tax? The states those are having, and which sector we can give a message to the Indian companies to enter in that market. What is your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I agree with Ajay that Colorado has really come on with technology. I think there's a brain drain from California in technology for sure, that several states, well, really only a few, are being the beneficiary of. Colorado, Utah, and Texas being the main beneficiaries of that brain drain. I think if you look across the manufacturing, the packaging industries, even the pharmaceutical industries, the southern states have been very aggressive in terms of low or no taxation. If you look at the predominant Indian manufacturing companies, we've seen them. I've met with them in India as well, in Pune, that have already been successful in the Carolinas, North and South Carolinas. South Carolina has almost no tax. They've floated the idea of zero tax. Tennessee has zero tax. Florida, of course, has zero tax. Georgia has a small tax. Alabama, Mississippi. I mean, these are states that have an aggressive young workforce. These are states that have incentives for companies in those heavy industries to come, even if it's just a small footprint. These are states that do not have unions. So these are different than for what the traditional overseas companies said, well, I need to go to Chicago, or Illinois. I need to go to Ohio. I need to go to Wisconsin. That's where all of the heavy manufacturing is. Well, those were high-tech states. They had heavy government regulations. They were even heavier in COVID, and I think COVID was a tipping point for a lot of those industries. So, what we now have is a fresh way to look at things. We don't need to go to those places anymore. Technology has changed a lot. And you need to look at the best operating basis for your businesses. So it's not just because I live in Florida. I grew up actually in Milwaukee. So I'm actually going against my allegiances, but I've lived all over the U.S. But to Ajay's point there, he's exactly right that every state has its different rules and regulations and red tape. And the southern U.S. is, in terms of doing business now, is really doing away with a lot of that now and being more welcoming and open. And that's where you see a lot of these businesses going now. You go where you want it, if you will, and where there's a fluidity of doing business. So if you look at the main sectors, in aerospace and defense, and I told that story about meeting the gentleman in Kingdom Tower. That's a big business for India, and I think unfortunately, there's a big buildup in the past administration. It's gone down, but thanks to what's going on again, I think that's going to be a big business again. No matter what. So aerospace engineering, defense, it's just going to be. So those are all areas where you're going to look for the lowest cost to do. And we see that, and the statistics bear it out, that the southern United States, from a tax threshold and ease of doing business, is going to continue to be that. I think, and again, not just because Ajay's sitting there, I think Utah and Colorado are probably the two states out west that are fitting that model the same way.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Rajendra ji would like to leave now. So thank you, Rajendra ji. I will be in touch with you. Be healthy. You have to make all the SMEs wealthy now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we have a Mihir Shah, who is helping Indian companies and Indian exporters to explore a new and emerging market, particularly to understand the procedure, compliances, understand what are the grievances can be faced in future, and what are the opportunity and how the incentives or schemes can be utilized for a promotion of exports, promotion of a bilateral trade, or using and taking advantage of the FTA agreements with the various countries. Mihir, floor is open for you.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, I mean, I was looking at the entire presentation by everyone, and thank you, sir, for inviting. So Mr. LeBas and everyone did mention, and thank you, Mr. LeBas, for putting it across of how easy or how thought-provoking it is to have a setup in US. Now when we're discussing about how kind of investment and other things can happen, Ajay sir and all of you have did mention, in fact the two ladies did mention about it. Unfortunately, Salunkhe sir, we did have some preference from US in form of a GSP, which is no more in existence. So at the time where we're looking at promoting, and I'm not talking about a new startup or an investor, I'm talking about pure hardcore export business of goods, commodities going from India to be sold to the American companies or companies based out of US. So we are losing out on that technically. We talked about FTAs. We are, as in India, we are signing FTAs with all other countries. I mean, I'm sure all of you are hearing on the India UAE SEPA, which is the latest talk of the town. But from an US perspective, we do not have any GSP. We in fact do not have any bilateral trade agreement. And this probably to a certain level makes it challenging for an Indian exporter to reach out to the end American buyer. I did also realize, and I think that's practically for all exporters, US is not US per se. It is US is individual states is itself a country. Every country is different. Every state is different. Colorado is different. Ohio is different. New York and New Jersey are different, and rules and regulation there makes a lot of challenging aspects. Salunkhe sir, another aspect where we exporters are facing challenges are scenarios which I think Madam did mention, and I think Miss Menon did mention about, the regulations on food items and food products. I mean, looking at that, you want us to export, but let's talk about a new MSME. We're talking about startup. We can have a lot of information, we can have a lot of groups, but the real thing is a pain to get an FDR approval from 6 months to a year, a cost. Salunkhe sir will carry a delegation this year. But sir, how many of MSME are easily able to reach US on a regular basis? I mean, that's challenging. And it's not that US you go and you are able to cater to the entire market at one go. You probably have to, meet and visit pockets of states every time. So these are some challenges which unfortunately are there. I'm not too sure. I have not been able to look at the details, but when I talk about the FTA agreements which are not available, or GSP or the preferential is not available with India, I am slightly able to understand that these are still available with little more developing countries like Philippines and Vietnam and Bangladesh. And now that challenges us in terms of being competitive, because those countries where the goods are manufactured, they get a better edge than us because of certain threshold limit being crossed by India, and now we don't have a free trade agreement or any of the preferential treatment in terms of the duty, levies and taxes. So I think these are my challenges. We do have to take care of those when we are looking at how do we develop US trade. There is no doubt that it is a big potential. There is no doubt that we can grow multifolds. There is no doubt that we are talking about US equals to entire country, entire world versus the US. So if an exporter is exporting to US, is probably equivalent to exporting the entire world. But the challenge is sometimes make it so difficult. And if we are able to, try and address these challenges through these forums, through this, institutions, I think we are able to really achieve what we want to achieve. And I think that's what I am going to put forward to. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And rather, this is a good thoughts you are given, particularly, companies, those are exploring business opportunity, how they can prepare. Rather, Joe, what we can do, we can create a document. While doing business in US, this will be useful for the SME sector. And particularly, we can also give another document to the US companies, because, see, large corporate can go to anywhere with their own help. But how the SME can do that? That's the most important. What's your thoughts on that?
Of course. I was listening to your comments there, and it's true, right? So, the first thought I said is, we need to find you a partner, right? And link you so you can feel some fluidity, so you don't have to be the one flying around to all these states, right? And find a good business arrangement so you can start feeling the fruits of that. Because you're right. It's just like any, think of your opposite number in the US who wants to sell to India. He can't go to Telangana, to Maharashtra, and go to all those towns and market his product. He can't. There's just no way. So that's our role here, is to say, all right, let's find somebody who looks like you and link you guys up. And, before you get busy in your own business, say, okay, you guys both do this. Let's find a good partnership agreement that you can live with, and with some milestones to market each other's product, right? That's kind of what I saw there, and the next thing you know, you're both happy with the results. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think that's what SMEs on both sides are looking for. And that's easier said than done, but why not, right? And in this age with technology and being able to identify, and if you're eager to get that, then we need to know more about you so we can populate it and cross-reference it with database that we have in our building on this side. And at the same time, you know, refresh that and say, these are some of the rules of the road in the US to educate you. So, absolutely. You know, and I think that's just a win for everybody, including the consumers on both sides.
Okay.
I do have to unfortunately leave to catch a train that isn't going to wait.
Okay, so we'll closing into 1 minute. Rather, it's 8 o'clock now in India, so we have to close now. The point is, you know, while you know, yeah, I'm giving you an opportunity. Point is, you know, the through the Aileen or Suja, Menon, or even Joe, or even Ajay also, when he spoke about, you know, particularly. So the outcome of this will be, you know, there is opportunity. Only how to take opportunity, how to avail the facilities, that is most important. Therefore, SME Chamber of India, India-US SME Business Council will definitely come forward and provide a handholding, guidance, support, and, you know, proper connectivity. Those SMEs from India and those SMEs from USA looking for exploring the business. So with this word, I'm thankful to all of you. And closing remark, I would like to suggest the Ajay ji to say a few words on this matter.
So I'll just tell you what I do every day and how do I support through the SMEs as well as US, India. And I just wanted to rectify one thing which Mihir was asking about the FDA and other stuff. You know, it's a much more easier when you know the regulation and you know the right kind of a partner who can show you the way. And I, being a judge for the Global Select for the US, India, for many startup companies coming from India for last 4 years, because of the COVID, we didn't get physical. So this will be the first year we'll do a very physical connectivity with the people after the COVID. We always look for the company who do little bit, you know, the knowledge, what is going on into the marketplace, wherever you want to come. Actually, right now we are doing, which is called a FabTech Venture Park here in Colorado, which is a food, agri-tech, and biomaterial venture park. And this is a big area we are circulating. So there's a lot of possibility exist where you can partner with. So those information doesn't go directly. So we expect that SME Chamber of India or you know, India US Business Council to be linkage to all the company back home. Second, I will say that you know, a lot of startup comes to us. It is not about the money. It is also about aware that where the mentorship will happen, where the technology you can transfer, where capital you can access. So our platform is always helping between India and US on that route. Second, we do you know, a lot of those programs where we help them to understand about the companies. So those are perspective we can always give back. There's a lot to be work, and I think Aileen and Suja today was a very upfront that we need to be aware. So I welcome SME to come in, you know, June with the entire delegation and look at, you know, our partnership is also in South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, also in New York and Florida. We can get some right kind of a partner, which is a right SME partner for India. So you should look where the possible is, and incentive can be given. I can help companies in terms of, you know, giving more attractive package from the state, because I know how to negotiate with them. So we can support that way as well if it requires. So I know it's too late there, and I have to also catch up another meeting. Thank you for giving this opportunity, and I really appreciate to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajay ji. Thank you all the speakers, Mahir. Also the participants, those are, you know, eagerly, watching and listening to all the the delegates, particularly from the the embassies. And I'm sure that this webinar will be useful to all of you. And I request all of you to share your thoughts, share your suggestions and your issues and grievances, so that we can take up to the concerned ministry as well as the embassies. With this words, I'm thankful to all of you for participating. Ajay ji, thank you. Mihir, thank you very much. Good night to all of you.
Thank you.